Couple of quick tips on how to pass the Class A CDL pre-trip inspection portion of your CDL test so that you can get your commercial driver's license, your CDL. There's a lot of information on YouTube that can help you out with this portion of the test. So in this video, I'm just gonna give you a couple of quick tips. If you want to know more or need to know more, obviously, again, there's a lot of other videos that can help you out that are already on YouTube. So let's get right into it. The first tip, obviously, you need to know all of the parts on the truck. In other words, a lot of people will just memorize a list, and while I will be the first to admit you can pass the test by doing that, in my opinion, the best way to ensure that you're gonna pass the test and you're not gonna forget all of the parts that they're gonna want you to inspect is to actually know all of the parts. Take the time to do what you got to do to know all of the parts on the truck. That way you won't have any problems when it comes to inspecting those parts. Tip number 2, you can take your time when you're doing the pre-trip. Now, if I'm incorrect on this, feel free to let me know below in the comments, but I don't think you're being timed when it comes to doing the pre-trip inspection portion of the test, which means you can take your time, you can go as slow as you want to, you can start over if you need to. As long as you haven't said to your tester, your examiner, that you're done with this portion of the test, you can get to the end and think you haven't done something and start all over and do the whole thing again because you're actually not being timed when it comes to this part. Tip number 3, there are 3 parts to the pre-trip inspection portion of the CDL test. There's the outside walk-around inspection portion of the test, there's the in-cab inspection portion of the test, and there's the air brake inspection portion of the test. Tip number 4, in my opinion, the outside walk-around inspection portion of the test is the most difficult. That's where most of the parts are that you're gonna have to point out. That's where all the engine and motor parts are that you're gonna have to point out. That's where all your steering and linkage parts are that you're gonna have to point out. That's where all your brake parts are that you're gonna have to point out. That's where all the tire, you have to go over the tread depth and all of that stuff. There's a lot of parts that you're gonna have to cover when it comes to the walk-around inspection portion of the test. And so in my opinion, that is the most difficult part out of all 3 parts of the pre-trip inspection. Tip number 5, the in-cab inspection portion of the test is not difficult simply because there's not as many parts on the inside of the cab to have to touch and inspect. Tip number 6, the air brake inspection portion of the test is not difficult simply because it just makes sense. In other words, when you're doing the air brake inspection, you are testing to be sure that the truck builds up air properly. You're testing to be sure that the truck holds air properly. You're testing to be sure that the truck holds air properly when you're applying the brake. And you're testing to make sure that the truck's warning systems work when the air pressure drops too low on the truck. The first warning system that goes off, which is the light or the buzzer that goes off when the air pressure gets below a certain amount, and the other warning system would be when the air brake pops out on the dashboard when the air pressure gets below a certain amount. And essentially that last test ensures that under all circumstances, if the air fails on the truck is going to be able to stop. Tip number 7, when you're doing the air brake test, be sure that you're doing it with the key in the on position. I've heard about more than one person failing the pre-trip inspection, the air brake inspection portion of the test, specifically because they did the whole thing with the key in the off position. Tip number 8, if you are not in school and you're going through this process, don't hesitate to ask the DMV as you're scheduling your test, and specifically the examiner, the person issuing you the test. Don't hesitate to ask them before you begin the test, what exactly are you expecting me to demonstrate during this test? And have them let you know what they're expecting you to demonstrate. And here's why that's important. They're probably going to say something along the lines of, I'm expecting you to demonstrate that you know how to properly inspect this truck. And your next question could be, well, is there any different in between what the book lets me know as far as inspecting the truck and what you're actually expecting me to be able to demonstrate for you right now? And at that time, the examiner is going to let you know there's something different, here's the differences, or they're going to let you know, no, as long as you follow what's in the book, we're not going to have any problems today. If you're not in school, you want to make sure that you're covered just in case some of the methods that you're expected to demonstrate for your examiner have changed from what's in the book. But I would imagine if the DMV in your state is still issuing that book to people to pass the CDL, that the book is not outdated, okay? But just to cover yourself, make sure you ask the examiner specifically before you begin the test, what exactly are you expecting me to demonstrate as we go through this? Have them tell you, and then ask them the follow-up question, is there any difference between what the book tells me is to be expected of me today and what you are actually expecting from me today, and have them confirm that as long as you're doing what's in the book, you're good. And if you know what's in the book at that point, you shouldn't have any problems. Quick tip number 9, be confident. I would assume that CDL testers and examiners can smell fear on someone that is taking the test. And I would assume that if they are dealing with the person, that they can tell is not confident, that they may scrutinize that person just a little bit more. And quick tip number 10, commercial driver's manuals all across the nation in every state are downloadable. Just go to Google, type in commercial driver's license manual in your state, and you can bring up a downloadable copy. And the reason I wanted to share this tip with you is because all you need to do is study the book. This is going to require you to study. Everything that you need to know as far as doing this pre-trip inspection is in the DMV booklet that is in your state. And so as long as you're willing to take the time to study and not just memorize what is in that booklet, but actually know the material that is in that booklet, you shouldn't have any problems showing up confidently on test day and passing the Class A CDL pre-trip inspection portion of the CDL test.